This mass graveyard in Bucha bears testimony to the brutal acts of the Russian troop. What you see, viewers, these are graphic images, very disturbing, of bodies that have been dumped. A mass graveyard, as you can see, bodies are still lying right now, put inside these body bags, and they have been dumped here. We are standing in the premise of a church right in the middle of Bucha, where we have seen reports earlier suggesting that bodies after bodies were being dumped inside these graveyards. We do not know the number of bodies that may have been dumped right now. This is exactly what Ukraine is now calling it, a genocide that has been committed by the Russian troops. A short while back, the head of the parliament, the speaker with whom Republic TV spoke to, did actually say that there are reports suggesting that when the intense battle was taking place in Bucha and Irpin, a lot of people, Ukrainians, were caught in the crossfire. What turns out right now, after the Russian troops have withdrawn, is these are images which tells you the horrors of the war that we are trying to document at this point in time. Russians, on the other hand, say that this is nothing but propaganda on the part of the Ukrainians. But what you see right now on your screens is the reality, the truth of this war, where thousands and thousands of Ukrainians have lost their lives. But today, this image tells you that somewhere down the line, the Russian troops have crossed the line of war. There is, as many say back in India, there is a war, but that seems to have been completely crossed by the Russian troops. Ukraine has now decided that they are going to take up this before the World Forum, and Russia needs to pay the price of the genocide that has been committed by them. What's very important to point out here is that when the invasion actually began, remember, the Ukrainians joined their army. They tried their level best to prevent the advancement of the Russian troops. Not to forget those images of the Russian column basically moving from Belarus and moving towards the capital city of Kiev. A short while back, we were there in one of the streets in Bucha where we saw the armored vehicles, vehicles, almost all of them charred completely, which was the result of that intense fight that was taking place between the Russians and the Ukrainians. But little did anyone realize that this is the image that one is going to see when the Russians really retreat. The answer to the question that many is asking is that have the Russians really forgotten the line that one cannot cross? Here you have bodies of children, bodies of women, elderly, all packed in a bag, and they've been dumped here. These are open graveyards that have been created, and this is right in the premise of a church. Let me just tell our video journalist Surendra Singh Rawat to just show you this graveyard has now been created in the premise of a church, and bodies have been dumped here. A short while back, you've had a delegation of UK parliamentarians also coming here and taking stock of the situation. The mayor, the governor of these very areas have testified to the brutality that has been committed by the Russian troops. The question is, will the Russian army really answer, or once again indulge in what they have been very good at, the psyops that we have seen when this war actually began? And today, the bigger question is that has the Russians really lost the moral ground that they were really claiming? The Russian invasion of Ukraine began. This is the very place where the intense street battle fight took place, and this is what remains of it. We are right now in the city center of Bucha, where you can see armored vehicles, tanks, light combat vehicles, and also fuel tanks that have been completely charred. These came under the attack of the Ukrainian forces, ensuring that the Russians' logistics supply, this entire road, remember there was satellite imagery which showed us how the Russian advancement was actually taking place from this very road. Remember, straight down this road is the Gostomel airfield where Russian troops were airdropped, and thereafter there has also been this convoy of armored vehicles that were basically moving towards the city of Kiev. The city of Kiev is on the other side. If you go straight down, you would be hitting the city of Irpin, and this is the very place where you could see all these armored vehicles, fuel tanks that were basically attacked by the Ukrainian forces, ensured that they were not in a position to leave from here. If there was one particular reason as to why the Russians could not actually capture Kiev, is because most of these places were cut off from the capital city of Kiev. This entire route, as you can see right now, has been completely damaged. Roads, there are houses on both sides of the roads, and as you see, this is what remains of houses that were on this particular street. Ukrainian forces with whom we spoke just a short while back said that there were people whose bodies were found inside the basement of houses like these. They also claimed that Ukrainians who have been staying in this city of Bucha, they were completely tortured when the Russians were making their advancement. And what you see around me is the remnants of that intense battle that took place before the Russian troops actually retreated. It is on Friday, just this Friday is when the Russians had retreated. At least the 35th and the 36th Combined Arms Army of the Russian troop retreated back to Belarus. They were the ones who were carrying on this entire battle here in Bucha and Irpin. Remember, this has become a major war of word between Ukraine and Russia, with Ukraine now claiming that genocide has been committed by the Russian troops, because all the way, if you actually move all the way towards Irpin, you would find bodies that have been lying on the road. In fact, there were certain bodies that even we spotted. We decided not to film them, given the fact that these were images were extremely very distressing to see bodies of soldiers lying on the road. In fact, the Ukrainian forces claim that Russians haven't taken back their own soldiers. There are vans that have been kept in which bodies are being taken inside. They've been kept inside. Those are cold storages where the bodies are being kept. These are Russian soldiers who have been taken in. There are also Ukrainian civilians whose bodies have been found. But clearly, with this gives you a sense of the intense battle that actually took place, and with the Russians finally being pushed back. They have now been sent back to Belarus. But the fact of the matter is this just another retreat to try and remobilize themselves? That cannot be denied at this stage, given the fact that there is an indication right now that the battle has basically shifted towards the east in the Donbas region and also south of Ukraine. That's where the battle has now shifted. But this is what remains after the battle that took place, where the Russians were trying desperately to try and move inside Kiev, but they failed miserably, because it is this logistic supply route that was basically targeted by the Ukrainian forces that really helped Ukraine to ensure that the capital city of Kiev does not fall into the hands of the Russians. Weeks of horror now unfolding before our eyes in the city of Bucha, the very place where the intense battle fight between the Ukrainian and Russian forces that took place. What you see all around me is the kind of destruction that the Russian troops had to face in the eyes of the aggression that was actually shown by the Ukrainian forces, ensuring that Russian troops cannot basically advance towards the capital city of Kiev. Just to put this into perspective, when the invasion of Ukraine began, perhaps the Russians had it in their minds that they would be capturing the capital city of Kiev. No one really at that point in time could fathom that there is a possibility that a mighty army like that of the Russian Federation could witness this kind of scenes. It's the logistic supply of the Russian Federation as they were moving towards the capital city of Kiev. Remember, they were stopped. There were anti-tank missiles that were fired to ensure that none of these light combat vehicles, armored vehicles, tanks, they cannot basically make their advancement towards the capital city of Kiev. And there is absolutely no doubt with these images that you see right now of these charred light combat vehicles and tanks, it is abundantly clear that they could not move an inch, despite that satellite imagery that showed that the Russian tanks of 60-mile convoy that was basically moving towards the capital city of Kiev. This is what remains of the Russian Federation's army tanks, their combat vehicles and the fuel tanks. Remember, these are the images which shows you the reality of what really happened in the city of Bucha. At the one hand, there is absolutely no doubt about the fact that this is a victory for the Ukrainian forces, but at the same time, there is another sad story that is basically unfolding. What you see all around me right now, there are houses here, and reports essentially suggesting that the people of Ukraine they were basically tortured by the Russian Federation. There were Russian troops who had gone inside these houses. They've carried out with the loots. They looted the houses, shops that were in and around this area of Bucha. Mass graves have now been created where bodies were basically dumped. So this is a clear indication that the strategy that the Russian Federation adopted, that had failed miserably, and this is a reflection of that failed strategy of the Russian army.